Listen carefully, because in the next 15 seconds, I'm going to tell you something terrifying. You can be born in the UK, raised in the UK, schooled in the UK, taxed in the UK, and still not be British. One letter from the Home Office, and suddenly you're without status, an immigration offender in your own home. British born, but not British. In today's video, we're diving into the British born but not British shock, the true story of adults who discover at 25, 30, 40 years old that they are not British citizens, even though they've never truly lived anywhere else. This is not a movie plot. Since 1983, being born in the UK is not enough to be British. Your parents usually had to be British, Irish, or settled in the UK when you were born. If they weren't, you might have spent your entire life here with no automatic citizenship and in some cases, no lawful immigration status at all. So in this video, we're going to walk through a 30-year-old story, British accent, British life, but legally not British. The law that created this problem. How people only find out when life hits them hard. Job checks, uni, passports, marriage, even prison. The link to Windrush-style scandals and digital e-visas. And what options might exist, registration, naturalization, Windrush scheme for people in this situation. Stay with me until the end because I'll also give you a simple checklist, how to check your citizenship, how to protect your rights, and how to avoid becoming invisible in the system. Before we dive in, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with anyone who was born in the UK to migrant parents. This information can literally decide whether they keep their job, their home, or lose everything. The shock. Imagine this. You're 30 years old. You grew up in Birmingham, Manchester, London, whatever city you call home. You support England in the football. You've got a northern or London accent. Your entire life is here. You've gone to primary school, secondary school, maybe uni. Worked, paid tax, paid NI, rented flats, used the NHS, opened bank accounts. Never ever thought about immigration status. Because you're British, right? You were born in a UK hospital. You've lived nowhere else. Your friends joke that you're more British than the British. Then one day you apply for a new job. HR sends you an email. We just need proof of your right to work in the UK. Could you send a British passport or your share code or your BRP? You don't have a passport because you've never needed one. You've never traveled. So you decide, all right, I'll just apply for my first British passport. Easy. You send off the application. Instead of a passport, you get a letter. According to our records, you are not a British citizen. We cannot issue you a British passport. We believe you may not have any lawful immigration status in the UK. In one sentence, your entire life is reclassified. You are now unable to work legally, possibly unable to rent, at risk if you apply for benefits or health care, terrified to contact the Home Office again, from British in your mind to undocumented in the system. How is this even possible? Here's where we strip away the myth. Most people still believe if you're born in the UK, you're British. That used to be true for many people. But from 1 January 1983, the British Nationality Act changed everything. Since then, being born in the UK does not automatically make you British. To be an automatic British citizen at birth if you were born in the UK after 31 December 1982, at least one parent usually had to be a British citizen or Irish citizen living in the UK, or someone settled in the UK with ILR, permanent residence, settled status, or another form of immigration with no time limit. If neither of your parents had that status, you were not automatically British, even if you never left the country. You might have later been able to register as a British citizen, as a child or young adult, but only if someone applied for you under the complex registration rules. Here's the core problem. Thousands of parents never knew. Thousands of children never applied. And now those children are adults, British in every way, except on paper. Our character: Amir, Chioma, Paolo. Let's give our 30-year-old a name. We'll call him Amir, but this could be Chioma, Powell, Maria, Andre, Aisha, anyone born here to migrant parents. Amir's parents came to the UK from outside the EU in the 1990s. They worked multiple jobs,
Moved between visas. Worried about survival, not paperwork. Always believed, our child is born in the UK, he's safe, he's British. They never applied for Amir's registration as a British citizen. They never asked lawyers. They never checked gov.uk. No one at school said, by the way, your son isn't automatically British. You need to do a specific application under Section 1(4) or other parts of the law. So Amir grows up without a passport, without formal status, without knowing. Everything is fine until the system suddenly demands proof. So when does someone like Amir usually find out? When they apply for a passport, when they apply for student finance, when the employer does a right-to-work check, when they apply for certain benefits or housing support, or during a criminal case when a prison or probation team checks status. The UK's hostile environment policies turned employers, landlords, banks, and even the NHS into border guards, all asking for proof of status. If you can't produce a British passport, a share code showing digital status, or clear Home Office documents, you are treated as if you might be illegal, even if you were totally entitled to status that nobody ever helped you claim. This is exactly what happened in the Windrush scandal, where people who had lived in the UK for decades were suddenly told they were immigration offenders because they had no papers. Campaigners are now warning that new digital e-visa systems could drag hundreds of thousands of long-term residents into Windrush-style problems because many people are not yet recorded properly in Home Office databases. So Amir is not alone. He's part of a much bigger pattern. Emotional impact. If I'm not British, what am I? Let's slow down. Think what it means psychologically. All your memories, friendships, schools, first loves, heartbreaks, payslips, tax records are in one country. Then a letter tells you, legally, you are not from here. You might not have right to be here at all. People describe it as identity shock. Where do I belong? Anger. Why didn't anyone tell me? Fear. Will I lose my job, my flat, my family? Shame. Am I now an illegal immigrant in the country I call home? This is not theory. It echoes the trauma of Windrush victims, some of whom were detained, deported, or blocked from jobs and healthcare after decades in the UK. When Amir hears the word undocumented attached to his name, he doesn't know whether to scream, cry, or just shut down. The legal reality. No status, but not hopeless. Now let's break down the legal side in simple English. This is information, not individual legal advice. Everyone's case is different. If you were born in the UK to parents who weren't British or settled, you may still have options. 1. Registration as a British citizen. The law allows certain people to register, not naturalize, but register as British citizens, especially if you were born in the UK, You lived here for the first 10 years of your life with only limited absences, or one of your parents later became British or settled and you were still under 18, or other special circumstances apply. Some routes are entitlement, meaning the Home Office must register you if you meet the rules. Others are discretionary, where they can look at your life, your ties to the UK, and decide. The problem, if nobody applied for you when you were a child, you may now be in your 20s or 30s and need to prove your entire 10-year residence history, pay expensive citizenship and registration fees, and possibly first get some form of leave to remain if you're currently undocumented. 2. Applying for leave to remain first. In some cases, someone like Amir might apply for limited leave on human rights grounds, for example, under Article 8, right to private and family life, because they've lived their whole life here.
Or other routes, depending on their parents, children, partner, or long residence. After years on such routes, they might then qualify for ILR, and then naturalization as British. It's a long road for a person who thought they were British from day one. 3. Windrush scheme for some. For people from certain Commonwealth backgrounds who arrived or were connected to the UK before 1973, there is the Windrush scheme, which can grant documents and citizenship free of charge. For their children and grandchildren, things are more complicated, but still, this scheme is a lifeline in specific cases. So yes, there are legal routes, but knowledge alone doesn't fix the pain. Let's talk about how this story should be a warning to everyone watching. Could this be you? Checklist for viewers. If you're watching this and thinking, wait, I was born in the UK. My parents are migrants. I've never had a passport. We never applied for anything. Here's a simple checklist of questions you must answer. A. When were you born? Before 1 January 1983? Different, more generous rules may apply. Many people born here before that date are British automatically. On or after 1 January 1983? You need to look closely at your parents' immigration status at the time of your birth. B. What was your parents' status when you were born? Ask, were they British or Irish citizens? Did they have indefinite leave to remain, settled status, right of abode, or another type of permanent residence? Or were they on temporary visas, overstaying, or with no clear status at all? If at least one parent was British, Irish, or settled at the time of birth, you may be British automatically. But you may need to prove it using documents, Home Office records, or legal help. If neither parent had that status, you are likely not British by birth, but may have rights to register. C. Did anyone ever apply to register you? Ask your parents or guardians. Did we ever fill in MN1 form, register for British citizenship, or receive a citizenship certificate? If not, this may need to be done now as an adult, possibly with a different route. Do you have any Home Office documents? Look for old Home Office letters, copies of any applications, BRP cards, even if expired, letters from school mentioning immigration issues. Anything helps build your history. Why this matters now more than ever. You might think, I've lived here all my life. Nobody's bothered me. Maybe I'll be fine. But the direction of UK policy says something different. The move to digital e-visas means that in the future, more and more checks will be done electronically. If you're not in the system, you're invisible. And that can mean denial of work, rent, banking, or healthcare. The hostile environment still means landlords, employers, and services check status constantly. And we've already seen, through Windrush, what happens when decades of life in the UK meet a missing document. So if you suspect there's a question mark over your British citizenship, nationality, or immigration status, the worst strategy is denial. Not knowing doesn't protect you. It only delays the shock. What you should do next. Here's a practical roadmap if you or someone you know might be in this British-born but not British situation. Gather your facts. Where were you born? When? What was each parent's status at that time? Check official guidance. Use the gov.uk tools on check if you're a British citizen and apply for citizenship if you were born in the UK. Talk to a trusted advisor. Look for regulated immigration advisors or solicitors, or reputable charities that specialize in nationality and Windrush-style cases. Don't avoid random fixers. Don't let unqualified people create fake stories or documents. That can turn a solvable situation into a 10-year ban for deception. If you discover a problem, act early. The younger you are when this is resolved, the easier it often is to prove residence, education, ties to the UK, and to get on a safe immigration route. Let's be brutally honest. We like to believe that citizenship is about identity. The accent you have, the football team you support, the culture you love. But in the UK, citizenship is also paperwork. And if the paperwork doesn't match your life, the system does not bend for your feelings. The phrase British born but not British sounds like a headline, but for thousands, it is a quiet nightmare. People like Amir find out late. They discover their whole life can be called illegal because adults made mistakes with forms 20 or 30 years ago. If you're still watching this, it means you care. You care about your status, your children's status, your friend's status, or your community. So here's what I want you to do right now. Comment below. Type "check my status" if this video has made you realize you need to double-check your own citizenship or that of someone you love. Share this video in your WhatsApp groups, community chats, Facebook groups, and among anyone who was born in the UK to migrant parents or arrived here as a child and never saw their own paperwork. Subscribe and turn on all notifications if you want more deep, honest breakdowns on British citizenship, UK immigration law, Windrush-style scandals, visa updates, and real stories the headlines ignore. Remember this, you are not powerless, but you are at risk if you stay uninformed. Don't wait until a job offer, a wedding, a holiday, or a crisis exposes a secret about your status that the system has known all along. Educate yourself. Protect your status. Protect your children. And never let a piece of lost paperwork decide your future. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay informed, stay prepared, and stay in control.